Hold up. Why do they doubt the kid? I'm about to prove them all wrong again. I got a low tolerance, cause they don't even know what the problem is. It's me. You waiting on the boy to fail, then hold your breath and face your death. Cause you play the roulette with each step. I progress, no less. Go ahead and place your bet.
Welcome back, y'all. This is the Double M Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jesus Dinero, here with my co-host,
Puma El Gato.
What do we got going on tonight, my man?
Today we are talking about the real reason why Dana White is making the shift from UFC to boxing. Let's talk about it.
Listen, man, there's a number of reasons why we believe that Dana White is trying to make his shift over from UFC to boxing. And listen, let's not play games here. Dana White from the beginning has wanted to be in boxing. UFC and MMA was a detour for him. And I know some people are going to say, what are you talking about? He's dedicated over 20 years. Fine, whatever. I don't care about that. And here's the reason why y'all are wrong. The reason y'all are wrong is because when Dana White came out from Boston and all that area where he was on over there in the East Coast over to the West Coast, the first place he linked up was with the Mayweather gym. In fact, he was the actual bag boy for Floyd Mayweather. Why do I say that? Go back and watch interviews. They both admit it. It's not a hidden thing. It's basic reality. Dana White tried to get into boxing and just was never successful. Eventually, whether you guys want to believe it or not, he settled for the UFC and MMA. And don't get me wrong, it boomed. He found two sugar daddies. He found two dudes that would fund his dream of owning this promotion. They ended up paying, I believe it was $2 million for the rights and all that other BS for it, the ring, essentially, blah, 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 blah. And eventually we get to where we are now with the UFC. So why, if you built up this multi-billion-dollar company, would you want to go on over to the boxing world? I mean, UFC is successful by all accounts. They made money. I mean, at this point, they're even on the stock market. Why would you want to move on over to boxing? Well, let's be honest here. UFC has, in fact, been very successful. Sold out shows, pay-per-views, blah, 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 blah. It's declining. You don't gotta like it. It's declining. Dana White has for years had a hard-on about catching illegal streams and all of the such, and he's always made it this point. Oh, we're gonna find you. Oh, we found this new amazing way to get them. We're coming after you. All this tough talk, and unfortunately for him, the pay-per-view numbers have continued to go down. Whether he wants to admit it or not, it's a failing scenario. It's a failing scenario for him as the promoter. It's a failing scenario for a guy that talks so tough. Once he stomps out one road, here come 15 others, I believe is what he in his mind is thinking, to basically illegally stream the show. And because of that, he has declining sales. So listen, what's the best way to hide that? What's the best way to hide declining pay-per-view numbers? Go to a streaming service, right? Instead of having a scenario where people have to buy it, just get a contract with these streaming scenarios like he was trying, and basically just make it to the point where, they don't rely on people buying it. It's basically for free on whatever streaming service you have. You just got to get it on the streaming service itself. And that's where there was talks of him and the UFC going over to Netflix. That deal ended up falling through. Now they're with Paramount. Basically, they're essentially wanting the same thing. The problem with it is that while there is a lot of us that watch MMA and boxing, it's not the general public. Now, while a lot of people will have a Netflix, while a lot of people will have a Hulu account, a Disney Plus, whatever you want, not a good portion of them really ain't tuning in to watch those sporting events. They're tuning in for the shows, for the movies, etc., etc., etc. So that's why I believe some of these deals fell through, and they ended up making a deal for Paramount and the such. But I think Dana White knows that the end is coming for that dominant phase of the business, and he wants to get out so he can say, hey man, I was just there building it up and it was a success. The moment I left, none of that is my fault. And now he wants to go over to boxing and try and do the same thing, because boxing has been thriving regardless of a lot of the stuff that Dana White himself has said throughout the years. Dana White wants to paint himself as the ultimate person when it comes to combat sports, both boxing and MMA, but he's just not that guy. So the reality of it is that yes, the MMA scene, UFC in particular, for a long time has been dominating, early 2000s and the such up until now. But he can't deny the numbers are dying. The numbers are going down. Whether you agree with the reason why they're going down or not, the fact is they are going down. So I believe Dana White wants to leave a failing business, leave a scenario that's not doing so phenomenally, in order to pursue greener pastures, in order to pursue and try and replicate what he did here with the UFC in boxing. I don't think he's going to have the success that he believes he's going to have. because there's a lot of things that benefited him in the first scenario and not in this scenario. But regardless, that's the reason why Dana White is leaving. He knows that the numbers are not looking phenomenal for his business model, and he wants to be able to leave and get out the door before he can. Now, listen, again, don't get me wrong. Dana White's had a hard-on for boxing, for a long time now. So I'm not saying that's the only reason, but that is a major reason why he's doing this. And it's not just me, man. Many, many, many people. I believe Bisping said it. I know Brendan Schaub said it. A number of different fighters, MMA fighters, have kind of said, hey, man, Dana White's kind of checked out. The promotion for a lot of these big-name fights, it's just not there anymore. And it shows that Dana White has kind of exited the building, mentally speaking. He's looking for greener pastures, looking to do other things. And I think the con is going to continue because that's what really these people need. These individuals, like the Dana Whites of the world, they need to continue the con that they continued in one world and continue that con in another world. And don't get me wrong, they're good at continuing the con. I'm not saying they're not. But I feel like Dana White is slowly going to be exiting the building. If I'm being honest with you, this is my personal prediction. I think what's going to happen is he's going to get into boxing. He's going to start his organization over there. I don't think it's going to go as hot. He's going to talk a lot of shit about the current promoters, the Bob Arums, the Oscar De La Hoyas, the Eddie Hearns, blah, blah, blah. He's going to talk a lot of shit about them, say that they're basically trying to block him out as a promoter. And he's going to cry and cry and cry. Eventually, Turki Al-Sheikh is going to kick him to the curb because it's really Turki Al-Sheikh that's his new sugar daddy. And eventually, he's going to make his way back to the UFC, try and become the big promoter that he's been for the UFC. It's going to fail, and eventually he's going to retire, maybe do something else like he's been doing for Facebook and shit like that. That's my personal opinion. That's what I believe is going to happen. I think Dana White is the classic example of a con man. Takes other people's money, the Fertittas, right now, the Turki Al-Sheikhs, uses it to fund what he wants, and eventually has to leave the scenario when the business starts failing or doing worse than it has been. Can only be a miracle man for so long. And I've never personally liked Dana White. I know obviously massive success, but listen, which one of us wouldn't be able to be a success if we had a massive sugar daddy, or sugar daddies in his case, fund our wildest and most insane dreams, man. It is what it is. We'll see what happens. But what do you think about that, my man?
It's crazy to think because it seems like I said before that it seems like it's going to be the same situation where Dana White was running the success on the back of a rich sugar daddy, both off of the Fertittas for the UFC, and then it's going to happen again with the Turki Al-Sheikh. Personally, I think the Turki Al-Sheikh is a similar, but it's actually going to be a different situation than you have with the Fertittas. Let me break it down for you. When he was running the show with the Fertittas for the most part, the Fertittas for the most part were actually pretty relaxed about the entire thing. They were just backing the UFC, and they basically told Dana, all right, we're just going to have you run this for the most part. Essentially, the Fertittas were basically running a blank check for the UFC, and Dana White was like laissez-faire about the whole thing about booking and everything like that. So he was pretty much the lead decision maker. The Fertitta were just like, all right, run the show. We'll back the money up for it. And then Fertitta has basically cashed out of the UFC, and then it's basically been on Dana White, and then Dana White went public with it. We're trying to go for the Fox deal, and then the ESPN deal, and then eventually the Paramount deal. And he's basically been trying to channel hop in between different streaming services, getting a much better deal, which I think is a little overbloated considering that the Paramount deal was worth more than the parent company that actually bought the fucking thing in the first place. But I digress. Dana White has basically been hopping between rich person, basically trying to float the UFC success on his back. And funny enough, off of all that, we already saw the pay-per-view sales for UFC has been declining. Even with an all but name, a presidential endorsement from Donald Trump himself, being at every single numbered show that he possibly can, as high as an endorsement as you can, again, in all but name, and yet still, pay-per-view sales have been declining ever since. That's why he's been trying to shift over to the streaming market, where there isn't really a price of entry anymore. There isn't a pay-per-view buy. It's just, hey, if you have Paramount, guess what? You have UFC now. You don't have to worry about any more price of entry. Guess what? It's there. And now he's going to shift that over into boxing with Turki Al-Sheikh, which again is another rich daddy. But again, I feel like he's not going to have as much success with the Fertittas that he's going to have with Turki Al-Sheikh. Now, again, you already predicted that he's going to have trouble with the Eddie Hearns, the Bob Arums, other promoters that are going to be, and from Dana's point of view, going to be gatekeeping as much fighters as he can from entering the Zuffa Boxing Federation. And I do think there is a lot of water to that. I do think Dana White has another hill that he has to fight. And believe it or not, it's the very same rich daddy that's going to be funding that promotion. Now, Eddie Hearn has actually worked with Turki Al-Sheikh in the past, and he has said on record, when you're running a show with Turki Al-Sheikh, you try and run ideas by him, and guess what? It's out in one ear and out the other. If Turki Al-Sheikh is funding the show, guess what? All the decisions are made by him. You're just there for the ride. He's basically funding the show, and he's also running the show. And you're kind of there just to pretty much promote it. You're basically promoting something that he was going to make anyway. And I think that's going to run up Dana White's craw, and that's basically going to piss him off. It's probably going to drive him out of boxing. I don't know for how long it's going to be, but if Turki Al-Sheikh is running boxing, guess what? He's going to be making all the decisions. Dana White is basically going to be... Here's what I think is going to happen. Any bad decision, Dana White is going to be the scapegoat. Even though Turki Al-Sheikh is running the show, Dana White is going to be the scapegoat, and I don't think he's going to handle the pressure of all that. If it's going to be the pressure of making sure that the show is basically run as efficiently as possible, but not being responsible for all the decision making and all that, I think it's actually going to make him a little bit mad, and it's going to run him out of boxing entirely. I don't know for how long. It might take, 10, 15 years down the line. But I do think, unfortunately, this boxing pipe dream that finally is within his grasp, I don't think it's going to go the way that Dana White thinks it is. And I do think he's going to eventually run back to UFC after all that time and basically say, yeah, the UFC failed without me. But guess what? I'm back. And guess what? By that point, if Dana White does come back and all the problems that were basically there when he was about to leave and then come back, I guarantee you, if and when he comes back, the UFC price is going to skyrocket. Just by nature of him finally coming back after all this time and basically saying, all the problems that came about when I was gone, guess what? They're not there anymore. Daddy's home. You don't got to worry about a thing. That's what I think is going to happen. He's going to be run out of boxing because Turki Al-Sheikh is running the show, and then he's going to come back to the UFC, and everybody's going to pretend like it's all hunky-dory, even though, let's be honest, it's not. It's still Dana White at the end of the day.
Yeah, man, I think you're being generous. I don't think it's going to take no 10 or 15 years. I think it's going to be a lot sooner than that. I think, like you said, there's already been noticeable issues between him and Turki in their messaging. There was a press conference where Turki Al-Sheikh said, and the man to tell you what's going to happen is Dana White. And Dana White basically said, okay, thanks for coming, guys. There's already noticeable cracks in that relationship. And listen, if I'm being honest with you, I'm on Turki's side. If I'm paying for it, why shouldn't I get exactly what I want? Who is Dana White? Dana White's a nobody. Dana White has just always been that guy that's gotten lucky and had dudes that around him that were rich. And because of them, he was able to manipulate his way himself into the situation to where he was now making money. But he himself, he didn't do it. He didn't build it. He didn't buy it. Somebody else did those things. He just got lucky with the Fertittas because the Fertittas just wanted to make money. The Fertittas just wanted you to do the damn job for them so that they can, relax and continue to make their money. Turki Al-Sheikh actually likes boxing. Turki Al-Sheikh actually wants to be involved. He wants to do a thing. And unfortunately for Dana White doesn't like that. He wants someone that'll give him the money that he wants and sit back and relax. Turki Al-Sheikh isn't that guy, man. But listen, that's why we believe Dana White's trying to make this move. And listen, it's a fraudulent move. Dana White's always been a fraudulent guy. There's always going to be an excuse. There's always going to be somebody else's fault. It's always going to be one of those scenarios where it's succeeding because of me, and if it fails, it's not because of me. But we'll see what happens, guys. It'll be interesting to keep a track on this timeline. Again, I gave you my prediction on what's going to happen. He gave you his prediction on what's going to happen. I don't think it's going to take that long, if I'm being honest with you. My personal prediction, 2-3 years, 4 at the most. And with that, make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit, and
until next time, get rest and stay blessed. We'll see you in the next one.